everybody! So here is Linda Delira, and I'm here with another Reasonings in the Open video. In this specific one, I'm going to talk about people's reaction to the theory and to what the theory says about types. It's more extended and more controversial than that, but that's roughly what is going on. Anyway, before I start this section here, this segment, the Reasonings in the Open segment is completely experimental. It means that it's me thinking and pondering, musing about things, but it's not necessarily stuff that I will use in my videos. It's not necessarily stuff that agrees exactly with the theory. Everything else on my channel is according to the theory and is perfectly safe. This specific thing is where I'm getting crazy. Anyway, yeah, roughly that's the idea. What do I want to talk about here? Well, this morning I woke up literally thinking about this thing that a lot of people out there tend to have these odd reactions, like when you take like a paragraph from the personality page. You take a paragraph from the personality page and you post it somewhere. I remember it from the times in which I was in forums. You take this passage from the personality page and you post it on the forum and you say, well, this is what an ESFP is according to the theory. And they're like, no, that's not true because I am this and this and this and I do this and this and that and I absolutely not do that. Well, then maybe you're not an ESFP because, guys, let's look into things as they are. The fact that you took a test one day and it said that you are an ESFP doesn't necessarily mean that you are such. The most pathetic and ridiculous thing that I have seen in my life, and yeah, this time I'm going to express an explicit judgment about the thing, is people that read Carl Jung's Psychological Types, which is the book where Carl Jung defines what the functions are. That's the book where Carl Jung, the person that decided that functions exist in the first place, says what the functions are. So basically, he's the first guy that went scuba diving, saw the first person in the world and in history that ever saw a shark, and he said, I'm gonna call this thing that is shaped this way and that has this thing that way and is very aggressive, I'm going to call this thing that has this specific characteristics a shark. And then I see people reading into Psychological Types by Carl Jung and going through things, and they're like, that cannot be right because if that's right, then I'm not the type that the test said, and I trust the test. Guys, really, if you are so lucky that you are the only human being on earth that knows exactly who they are and that doesn't need external help to figure out who they are, or if you are a thinker or whatever the case may be, and you know who you are exactly and what exactly you do, and you can use your extra thinking or whatever function you may be using to see who the hell you are, and you're perfectly able to see yourself from outside, why do you not apply the theory to you instead of listening to a stupid test online that is made by people approximately applying some parts of the theory that you could have read in the wrong way? Or they could have written the wrong way. So if you're so good at understanding things, at seeing things and knowing how things work, then why on earth are you listening to stupid tests knowing that tests are unreliable? Because if you will have a minimum understanding of how tests are made, you know exactly that tests are unreliable. First of all, for the mere fact that one person can be asking you a question and you can read it one way that is not exactly the way that the other person wrote it. And that happens even only because of the meaning of words. Every person, every single human being has an idiolect. If you want to look it up, it's a linguistic concept. idiolect. That thing, idiolect, means that each of us has a stereotypical image of every object in language depicted and painted into their minds. So when I say cat, I'm likely thinking of a very, very fluffy and playful and adorable and jolly thingy with a lot of fur that only comes there to cuddle you. That's my cat. That's my stereotypical cat. Someone else, like my teacher of English, the husband of my teacher of English when I was in the kindergarten, came from Africa. He was raised in Africa, and he was raised with the concept of lions, basically lions and tigers. So this category of animal was dangerous, and he never saw a cat because in the place where he was living specifically, there were no cats around. Don't know what the hell of a reason. It looks insane to me, but that's what he told me. So I must take it the way he says it. And when he sees a cat, what he's seeing is a hungry, dangerous, and extremely angry, hostile lion or panther or whatever the case may be. He's seeing a tiger. He's seeing something that wants to eat him. That's what he's seeing. So the moment in which I write the word cat, I'm seeing a fluffy thing, and Johnny instead, which is the name of this guy, is seeing an angry beast that wants to kill him. So that right there makes a huge difference. And if you think of the fact that some people, you ask them, do you see the glass half full or half empty? And they start dissecting for hours about what a glass is. How is that person ever supposed to answer that question objectively? They're going to pick one or the other because it's going to be the same, but it gives a different result in the test. So you cannot trust the test because you cannot know, or unless you're an INFJ maybe, you cannot know what the person on the other side actually meant with that thing. And if you're an INFJ and you can see that, then you're into another danger. You're living another kind of danger. And the kind of danger you're living is the kind of danger I go through every time I take a test, which is that I know exactly what the person is meaning. I know exactly where they're coming from. I see exactly what they're trying to ask me, and I can trick them into giving them the answer for the right outcome that I want. When I answer tests, if I want to come out an ESTJ, I give the right answers, and I come out an ESTJ because I think that I'm an ESTJ or I want to be an ESTJ, and I give the exact answers. And that's how I got into the private group of ENTJs, by the way, online. Anyway, that's what an INFJ is capable of doing. So if you believe you are a type, or you're starting the test believing you're a type, your chances are that you're in that specific moment, you're believing you're something you're not. And you're going to provide the answers that give an answer that is not exactly who you are. Not to speak of the fact that a lot of the time, we as human beings are in society. So if you are an extroverted thinking type, you're probably believing things that the majority believes. So you are, for example, an ENTJ, you can think, and you live in an alpha quadra environment. Your dad is an ENTP and your mom is an ENFJ. For example, your dad is an ENTP and your mom is an ENFJ. So you're living in a very extroverted feeling environment, and everybody in that environment believes that ethics and emotions are dealt with a specific way. So what you're going to do is believe that emotions and ethics are going to be dealt with that specific way, because that's what your extroverted thinking leading is going to tell you. So when you're answering the test, every answer you're going to give is going to be extroverted feeling, because you're going to fully embody exactly that model, that dogma that you're provided. So tests are completely unreliable. You can't use a test to help you define who you are or figure out who you are. The only thing that you can use is yourself. And this thing that I was complaining about today, and I made a video to my boyfriend where I was much more angrier than I am now. Well, what I was complaining about today is these people that read Carl Jung, the person who defined the thing, that decided that this thing even existed, and they say he's wrong. Wrong about what? He can be wrong about details. He could have been wrong about details. For example, personally, I disagree with him about the fact that people can change type in their lives. I don't think they can. But he was at a very superficial level. He was observing basically the dominant function in individuals. So he was looking at extroverted feeling in patients that were affected by, for example, histrionic personality disorder in the psychiatric place. And then he was looking at his students that displayed behaviors of detachment of feeling or becoming one with the emotional environment in that moment. And he saw this pattern and he wanted to use it, like I said in another video, he wanted to use this thing to help the psychiatric patient get out of their condition, to avoid the use of electroshock and medicines and whatnot that was used at the time. That was his goal. But he was looking basically at the dominant function. So when we look into types and into typology specifically, it can be that his types are still rougher, still a little bit raw. Like, for example, the person that decided what a shark is and that named that thing a shark and that said for the first time sharks exist could, I'm not saying it happened, could have thought back at the time, they have all these teeth, they must be cannibals. And he could have written that sharks are cannibals. Then over time, people figured out, other experts studying the behavior of sharks figured out that these animals are actually not cannibals. So in that thing, that person was not 100% spot on because he was still at the first observations and he could have gotten something wrong, or he could have jumped to a conclusion that wasn't correct. That could happen. That can happen. A specific detail inside of one of the concepts can need a little bit of adjustment or can be in the wrong direction. While he's observing these patterns in the world around him, he could have stumbled into someone like, for example, being auxiliary extroverted feeling. I'm talking about extroverted feeling because it's the description that I like the most in the book. Anyway, he could have seen someone that is extroverted feeling auxiliary, for example. And this person that is extroverted feeling auxiliary would have behaved a fully different way from the extroverted feeling dominant. So that could have changed his view of extroverted feeling, inserting something of introverted intuition or introverted sensing in there. That could be something because of the introverted side of the thing. That could happen. But aside from that thing, like very tiny details in the behavior of people, it is very unlikely, if not impossible, that Jung will ever be wrong about anything in the theory. You can disagree with some portion of his conclusions after the definitions are set. But aside from that, when someone tells me, I know that I am exactly the introverted sensing definition in Carl Jung, but I'm sure that I'm an ENTP, I laugh the shit out of me. I mean, I laugh my ass out like crazy. Sorry, I said something weird that didn't exist, I think. Anyway, I laugh like crazy. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because if you are 100% sure that you are that thing, according to Carl Jung, you better look into ISFJ and ISTJ because that's what you are. I personally lived for a long time a little bit of envy towards these people, because some way some envy towards these people, because they know they know who they are. So I don't understand why someone that starts from such a positive standpoint, where they know where to start, they have a starting point that can help them grow, but they refuse everything else. I mean, they refuse other people's opinion. They refuse what others say. They refuse. I do also, but I mean, they refuse the theory. They refuse what is written. They refuse to believe Jung himself. If you tell me I disagree with Myers-Briggs, but I agree with Stratiskaya, then I'm probably going to tell you that maybe you want to look a little bit better into Myers-Briggs. But if you don't like it, just skip it and go with Stratiskaya. They say the same things, just from different points of view. But if you understand better an ISFP than an INFP, then who am I to tell you read the INFP? I mean, that's basically the difference. If you understand Golenko better than you understand Stratiskaya, and you understand an INTP far better than an ISFP, then who am I to tell you to read the ISFP if you don't understand what they're talking about? I personally see that they're saying the exact same things. Golenka is a little bit more experimental. Stratiskaya is a little bit more dogmatic in the application of the theory, but they say the same things. Golenka is using the same things that Stratiskaya says to go onto his researches. So they say the same thing. So I don't understand this thing that people have to deny the theory or make up their own theory even. That's one thing that people keep telling me. That's introverted thinking. You should be supporting that. And I'm like, I'm not sure that's introverted thinking, because that sounds crazy to me. Like, people jump into the theory and they're like, okay, I think that I'm an INTP. Therefore, INTPs are people. INTPs love being among people. INTPs are extroverted. INTP. What the fuck are you talking about? Give it your name. Don't use the theory. Why are you using that name? Why are you calling it an INTP? You're talking about something else. You're creating your own little world of something that nobody knows about. You're defining yourself and the world that you see around you. So you're not using the theory. Do not use the theory to apply it some weird stuff that has nothing to do with the theory, because that's only causing confusion. That's something that I don't understand. To me, that's not what an INTP does or what an ISTP would ever do. That's not introverted thinking. That's some weird stuff going on where people are stealing names, basically. It's like I go out there and I go to another planet where there's life like Earth, and I start seeing weird animals that have nothing to do with the animals that are on Earth. And I'm like, that's a cat, that's a shark. When I'm coming on Earth and telling people I saw a cat and a shark, people are going to believe and think that I saw a cat and a shark according to the human concept of cat and shark. And what I saw there was actually something completely different that has nothing to do with the thing. So then I cannot complain that people do not understand me or that people are not getting what I'm talking about. If you are a people person, someone that loves being among people, that doesn't like very much to explore new ideas. It's impossible because you wouldn't come up with something like that. But anyway, and stuff like that. And you come to the group and you say I'm an INTP. People are going to teach you how to interact with others, and you cannot answer them. Well, some people are going to try to teach you how to interact with others, how to express your emotions, how to deal with people. Then maybe you're instead an ENFJ or an ESFJ and you have strong extroverted feeling, and you're going to feel hurt because people are teaching you something that you could teach them. But that's because you're using a name of something that has nothing to do with who you are, and you want people to treat you according to who you are using a name that is not describing who you are. And you cannot freaking change that definition because you feel like that thing should apply to something else. It's not like you wake up one morning and you take this bottle and you say, this is a can. Because I like more the idea of it being a can. So from this moment on, this thing is going to be a can. That's completely insane. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's what happens out there. And this morning I was really so baffled. And a lot of time ago, I used to be very angry about this stuff. And I used to be very angry about this stuff specifically because I was trying to figure out who I am and use this stuff to grow myself. And all of this confusion, all of these definitions, and all of these people telling different things and saying different things that didn't match with each other, and then you went looking into things and nothing made sense at all, and they didn't even match with what was online. All of these things were causing me confusion, and it was making me highly angry because I was trying to figure myself out. I have a goal, and that goal is to reach enlightenment, in case nobody figured that out yet, or someone that hasn't figured that out yet. My goal is to reach enlightenment. I want to grow as a person the most that I can. Why? Because I think that's what we're here for. And I don't even think that reaching enlightenment is the goal. My goal is to reach up there, to start working, and to start being exactly that thing that I'm meant to be, and use my full potential, because I want to give society exactly the thing that it is that I can provide society. And I want to be the best version of that thing that I possibly can. And to achieve that, I have to know exactly who I am, and I have to achieve full potential, meaning enlightenment. I have to reach the number one level of Enneagram. I have to climb up there. To do that, I have to cooperate with my boyfriend. Sometimes I'm not good at that. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's the point. We need someone to cooperate with to reach up there, or someone up there throwing a rope and pulling us up. That's what we need. And all these people squabbling and pulling out shit off their ass and throwing it to others like monkeys, and saying that that was gold or sugar, that's insanity. And it was making me so angry because I was trying to gather a knowledge, which is already very difficult for me. I was trying to gather a knowledge about something to help myself grow. Now that I do not need to rely on that anymore, that I have my boyfriend and I rely on what he says and on his understanding of the theory, I go after what I find on Wikisation according to what I've been taught, and I follow that. I feel a little bit more stable in things, and I start feeling a little kind of amused by these things that happen out there. Amused in a motherly way. Like I look at it and I understand that it's out of ignorance that these things happen. It's because people do not know. Ignorance meaning that they ignore. So you cannot blame someone for not knowing something. You can have your views about the fact that they're not researching it, but you cannot blame them for not knowing or for finding their own way. I mean, that's not something that I consider something to blame. It used to make me extremely angry, but now I can look at I can look at it with a little bit more of a motherly attitude. I still can see how much trouble it causes to people who are trying to figure things out, because especially when you're stumbling into people that have a strong personality, like this strong extroverted sensing in some position, and they start imposing on you that you have to trust their way because they know better than you. That becomes really difficult to handle. That becomes really difficult to handle. Anyway, yeah, this is more or less what was going through my mind. Like I said, it's more of a rant than actually exploring functions or anything. But I thought that it was worth sharing, and therefore a reasonings in the open thing. And this is everything I have, and I will talk to you later. Bye.